What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Dean 7904. If you want to get all technical, I mean, it's 5:30 on the East Coast, 2:30 on the West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time. Of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Join me today. You know him from such things as, well, he was in the morning grind today. He's dropped a sports card article here at Rotogrinders. He, of course, is the main guy behind our sports card push here. Our Scott, you know, I'm trying to think of the name. I host the show, but I can't think of it. I know there's a rhyming scheme like sports.
Dean,
sports stocks.
Dean, stop. Let's stop yourself. Now watch this. As much gripe as you gave me for this acronym the other day, this is going to help you get it. Castle. I guarantee you get it right now. Card stock after lock. Bam. There it is. See? Yeah, all that gripe, and the acronym bails you out once again.
Oh man, we don't have time to talk about coming to America today. It's not a 4-game slate or a 3-game slate. It's no time for pleasantries. It's a 10-game slate. Of course, we're waiting on information to drop as far as the body parts that we have knowledge of, who's in and who's out. One of the big ones that's already dropped today, Donovan Mitchell, still out with that concussion. Surprisingly, Kawhi and Paul George both are back today for the Clippers. Kevin Durant is out. What are we monitoring? Let's see. We have Joel Embiid is currently questionable. He took that big spill, took that big fall from LeBron. He's legitimately questionable. I don't think it's like a resting. This is an island game for them anyway. I don't believe they're on the front end or the back end of a back-to-back. Definitely didn't play last night. D'Angelo Russell is currently questionable. OG Anunoby is questionable. If he sits again, they can open up some more minutes from Norman Powell. Lonzo Ball is questionable. If he does not play, I guess we could have a chance to do some things. Maybe Bledsoe get a little more run in a revenge game, I believe. Revenge game, both sides, right? Drew Holiday? Yeah. We excited about that or not? I got a reaction out of you. Do we care about revenge or?
No, Dean, I'm listening and watching my news feed at the same time.
What happens?
And so Rick Bonnell, if you don't know, is like the beat writer for the Charlotte Hornets. Like, listen, if he says something, take it to the bank. Like, he's the guy. Mm-hmm. You want to be following him. And, man, I just saw the worst tweet ever. Hornets coach James Borrego says, I have to find P.J. Washington more minutes at center. That could not have me more upset to not play Cody Zeller tonight. Oh, man, I mean.
Maybe Bismack's out of the rotation.
That could be true. But the Hornets, I mean, listen, do you know that James Borrego coached with Greg Popovich? He's from the Spurs. Which is why we get these random lineups sometimes. Sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. Now, we do have guys that have stable minutes, like, Graham, or obviously Gordon Hayward. Like, those guys have stable minutes. Rozier has stable minutes, but
LaMelo doesn't. What's up with LaMelo?
I don't know. And I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to take us off on a tangent. I was just going through my news feed. I said, in my head, I couldn't be more disappointed to read this news. At any rate, we're going to kick this off with a Coming to America reference. I am happy to be here. If you hadn't heard that one before. Dean, back over to you with body parts. I don't want to get in your way.
No. That's that is good to know. But again, it's hard to sort of. So last time Zeller started, and I didn't play him. I mean, he was really, really good, and I thought he would just start and play 22 minutes or something like that, and I didn't really think he would close necessarily, and he did play really well, and this is a rematch of a game versus Indiana a couple days ago. Was it a couple days? Was it yesterday? No, it was 2 days ago, right? I get lost in the days, but I'm pretty sure this is a home and home. No, wait, whatever. Yeah, it's Charlotte. It's a rematch against Indiana. They played a couple days ago, and he clearly outplayed Biyombo. Biyombo is a veteran that they don't need to develop or anything. Not that Zeller is the guy they need to develop or anything either. And for sure, they want to see the versatility out of Washington, a young guy that theoretically is a part of their future. But I think it's a scenario where Zeller starts and Washington grabs some of those backup 5 minutes as well, which we've seen him play 5 before, and maybe Bismack is just out of the rotation. I don't know, just a thought, just kind of throwing it out there. But that is interesting. Everything else, as far as the news, like this slate, is barren for cheapies, like for cheap value. Like normally – cheap value on a 10-game slate, and the guys we're looking at is Cody Zeller. This is more so DK specific, where he's 4K now. He was 3-4 a couple days ago. Maladon, I kind of mentioned to you, and you gave the appropriate reaction. Nobody wants to play Maladon, who's presumably going to draw the start once again there for OKC with George Hill out with his thumb. But he's not somebody you want much a part of. You're begging for 22 fantasy points or something like that. And we'll talk about it as far as the opportunity cost, but point guard is really, really, really good. It might be a slate where you play like 4 point guards. Is that, use a shooting guard position as well, obviously, but normally I like to go double center, but you give it the slate that dictates. And I have not built anything just yet because I just wait for news to get me scrambled anyway after we get off the show. But your overall assessment as far as this slate, like guys are priced the way they're supposed to be, with their general output. And you're supposed to take advantage of when players are out and usage goes up and all of a sudden their fantasy projection goes up, meaning, we're supposed to play the Brooklyn studs when one is out. Durant is out. We're supposed to play Harden. We're supposed to play Kyrie. Donovan Mitchell's out. We're supposed to play Conley. We're supposed to play Clarkson. We're supposed to play Gobert.
No. Let's get that right because see, people, I don't want them to mess this order up. This is stuff I look at so I can deliver these nuggets. No. We're supposed to play Gobert first, actually. Gobert's averaging 1.46 fantasy points per minute with Donovan Mitchell off the court, and this is not a small sample size. This is over 200 minutes this season. Gobert is the first guy in from Utah for me on DK. Let's segment that because on DK he's 7,500. On FanDuel he's 8,700. I still like him on FanDuel, but on DK, Gobert is the first Utah Jazz player you need to put in your lineup. At 1.46 fantasy points per minute, if I'm not mistaken, Dean, that's 51 fantasy points. That's the first guy in if you want to play a Utah Jazz player on DK. On FanDuel, it's definitely Clarkson if you want to get in the mix on Utah players. Sorry, Dean, didn't mean to cut you off. Just want to clear that up for the people.
I think it's really, really important to note, and Andy pointed this out in his article today, and if you guys want access to that article, that premium article, get yourself $10 off the first month of RG Premium. If you want just basketball stuff, just get basketball stuff. $10 off, link going to be dropped in chat for you guys. Hey, what up, chat? We haven't said hello to chat just yet. Chat, please like, please subscribe. Turn on notifications, hit all the buttons, hit all the things. We do appreciate that. If you're asking questions there, Devin, fabulous multitasking producer, he's going to be compiling questions. He's dropping links in chat, hence multitasking. Ask some questions. We're going to field them later on in the show. Devin's going to come in and fire at us. Here's what we ask you to do. Tell us what site is it on, and is it tournament? Is it cash? Yeah, you guys know how this works. Again, hit like. We do appreciate that. Well, assuming you like it, don't hit it willy nilly. Yeah, if you like the show. Otherwise, well, if you don't, why are you here? What's the point? You have things to do. All right. So Gobert played 37 minutes there against Dallas, and this is something that Andy pointed out, and I want to give him credit for it. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, and people say, "Well, why do you talk about Derek Favors and the body parts? Who cares?" Yada yada. Well, the absence of Derek Favors and this team is pretty thin as far as Utah. Like they're not a very deep team. He got 37 minutes, and what was kind of a blowout there at the end. I want to say he sat the last minute or two in that game versus Dallas. 37 minutes. He's not going to get 37 minutes if Favors is Favors available. Doesn't mean he still can't get there. Doesn't mean he still can't pay off that salary. But I think Gobert gets a legitimate bump in minutes projection if Favors is out maybe 2 or 3 minutes or so, and we can see him grabbing 36, 37, 38 minutes in a matchup where, again, return matchup where he absolutely annihilated. Were you surprised that there was no Boban appearance in that game? Like, he was crushing everybody, and not that Boban's this great defensive savant, but I thought they might try to throw something different at him, but I don't know. Just probably a question you weren't expecting on this 10-gamer, but I thought maybe Boban would get a little bit of a run last game when Rudy was just taking souls from everybody.
Yeah, I don't think they're invested in really getting Boban minutes unless all of their bigs are out, and some of them are out. But Dallas is pretty healthy now, so Boban, it's going to take a lot to get him off the bench. Great guy, but he's not seeing the floor.
Yeah, he seems like a lot of fun. I know him and Tobias Harris got to have like a buddy comedy when they both retire or something like that. They seem to be good friends. And he's got a cameo as well. Well, let's get a cameo from Boban one of these days. It'd be a lot of fun. Did you ever jump on the Cameo? Are you aware of Cameo.com?
Nope.
Are you aware of the existence of it, like the concept?
Nope.
Okay, well, we'll get into it another day. But it's really interesting. Anybody in chat, you ever get a Cameo before? Tell us if you got a Cameo before. I'm curious.
Listen, I'm not really big into social media. For those of you that don't know, I'm not sure if anybody knows when I came on the scene, but when I started at Rotogrinders, I actually wasn't even on Twitter yet.
What?
I had to have some spousal influence to get on Twitter, and thank God I did. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to me from a DFS perspective outside of the actual contest. DFS Twitter is very entertaining.
Did you at least have like a burner where you just kind of read information and read news? And
No. I had zero Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not really into social media, Dean. I only have one social media account, and it's Twitter, and it's at Chief Justice 06, and that's it. If you want to, get in contact with me, have my phone number. I'm more than willing to give it out to you.
You're giving your phone number to me or to everybody?
No. I'm saying if you want to get in contact with me, you typically have my phone number or my email address.
Okay.
And in your case, you have, your house phone number, and that's how you do it.
Well played. The news that Capella is he's got a hand, but he's available with his hand. Cam Reddish also available. Those are not surprising. Rondo questionable. Who cares? That one we don't really care about with his ankle. Who knows if he's going to play or not, but news will be sprinkling in, obviously. Oh, do want to mention Cameo is not a sponsor of the show, but you know who is a sponsor is Monkey Knife Fight.
Buddy.
You get yourself a $50 deposit bonus, 100% deposit bonus, up to $50. Use the promo code Grinders, GRINDERS. That link's going to drop in chat for you guys. And you're going to help people out. Basically, you're picking over, you're picking under. You got some winners for the people. What do you have? Yeah,
man, I'm coming in hot. First, pretty much one of the first games of the night. With Charlotte and Indiana, and I'm taking the over on my boy Gordon Hayward. I mean, he's playing about 38 minutes a game when it's competitive, Dean, pushing 40 sometimes. And I'm going to take the under on, Mr. God, he played for Milwaukee, Mr. Brogdon. I'm going to take the under on him. I just, I like Brogdon, but I think I'm going to take the under tonight. I don't think he gets there enough. Anyway, I'm jumbling up my words, trying to make sure I use the proper syntax. It's all good, but that's where I'm at tonight. And by the way, I'm not, just saying this as a company person. I love Monkey Knife Fight. Like it's a great site. I like the prop side of it. I think, I've talked to you off air about even converting some of my play and kind of turning that into more of a cash game type perspective, because, those over and unders, I mean, you're getting 3X back, which in my opinion is better than a 50-50 I'm going to play in if I nail the prop. So I'm really excited about Monkey Knife Fight and what it can do for the profitability of my earnings long term. There you have it.
We got Alex in chat saying Antonio Freeman did a cameo for his mother-in-law. Antonio Freeman, receiver for the Packers. Is that correct? I think that's who that was. Am I right on that,
man.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. Alex will plug it in there for us. Hey, Alex is my boy. Matter of fact, Alex, we can go back to the well on our good friend Mr. Mike Conley tonight, and I don't think he'll be that high on. So there we go, Alex. Not sure if you are watching, because I just saw you post something in there. But that's my boy. We know when to get on the Mike Conley train.
Yeah, so that's one of the places we're going to start, obviously, as far as Utah. I'm looking at the ownership stuff right now, and obviously this may change. We're still an hour and 20. Well, my math is bad. An hour and 17 minutes if you want to get all technical as far as lock, as far as the first game. Ownership-wise, because salary is a thing, Jingle and Joe Ingles, 4.7K on DK. He's the second highest projected home player right now, 23.3%. Thrived in this matchup last time out. And, of course, again, the absence of Mitchell makes his minutes much more solidified. We talked about Gobert. Gobert currently the third highest projected guy at 23.9%. We're projecting 35 minutes, which might seem a little bit ambitious, but that probably bakes in favors potentially being out as well. I can see it being anywhere between 33 and 37. TLC. So yeah, let's Utah, right? You talked about Conley. What about Clarkson? Is Clarkson just going to keep going nuts off the bench?
I think so. I feel like he is now. He is a little bit more expensive on DK now than FanDuel. So, if you want the production, you will have to pay for it. So I don't feel like he's a guy I have to get in my lineups on DK because I still trust some other guys more. Like I do trust DeRozan more than I trust Clarkson in this spot. I trust DeJounte Murray a little bit more than I trust Clarkson. Even though I know, Clarkson's going to come in and just, stroke the ball as much as humanly possible. I think he took 21 shots in that last game, if I'm not mistaken. Don't have that number right up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's close. If it's not 21, it's 22 or 23. It wasn't 20. It was definitely more than 20 shots. So Clarkson's going to get the shots up. I like him, but I still think the Spurs are too cheap, and I'm not going to get off of that and trick myself because of all this injury news. The Spurs are too cheap. You need to be getting them in your lineups.
Yeah, you mentioned FanDuel. Clarkson's a little bit more appealing, and yeah, I just pulled it up as far as our FanDuel stuff. You're kind of boxed in. There's no position eligibility either. Versatility on FanDuel, and Clarkson's 5.8K. If you look at the points per dollar, he's clearly the best play. And this is something you don't see very often. Somebody that's 9.8K being the second best points per dollar play. And why is that? It's not because of revenge, but James Harden is going to be out there without Durant, right? And we don't see him at this price. And you're going to be overthinking it, but that's where what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do in your cash games, and obviously goofy things happen. And in tournaments, you can absolutely pivot. And we don't name a guy in a 10-game slate. Doesn't mean we don't necessarily like them. It's just you can only talk about so much, and sometimes naming everybody is not very helpful either. But yeah, FanDuel specific, like Clarkson and Harden feels like a really, really good starting point to say those are my shooting guards, and I'm going to move on from there. Of course, a lot of people are going to be thinking that as well. Thoughts?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think that's the way to go. I think we can get different in other spots. And I'm already telling you right now, if I'm going to get different, I already know what my pivot is. If OG is out, I'm just going to play Powell for $400 more. They're pretty much, in my opinion, Powell's going to get 38 minutes in that spot. I'm just going to spend up the extra 400.
Who's he playing against, Powell?
Sacramento, my friend.
Do we like that? Do we like the matchup against Sacramento?
We absolutely do. And I think before this injury news, I was fully prepared to play 2 or 3 guys from Sacramento on this slate. Fully prepared to do that. But listen, when Durant sits, you have to make adjustments. No way I'm going to take Kyle Lowry over Kyrie. No way I'm going to take, a Van Vliet or a Siakam. And it's all salary distribution, but that's kind of where I am. I do want to plug this in, Dean. I don't want people to think we're bouncing all over the place, but I'm trying to give them all my hot takes now. So as the questions come in, we're ready to go. I am full steam ahead with Al Horford tonight. Brooklyn has been god-awful at the center position for 4 or 5 years now. Nothing's changed. It's still the same. Go back and look at the numbers. Look at what teams are doing. You're saying, oh, God. And me and Dean had this discussion. Yeah, I know he didn't want to play Al Horford. And then we look and we're like, hey, Al Horford dropped a 50 spot. Here's what Dean said. Keach, I know you're in. Come on in, Keach, and we'll just wrap this conversation up. Dean says, where's Al Horford's upside? Al Horford just dropped the 50 spot the other day, and that was with 3 steals and a block. But you take those points away, that's still great value. Playing Brooklyn, I think he dropped almost 40 on Brooklyn the last game. I like Al Horford. Just wanted to get my hot takes in early. Keach, what is up, my friend?
How you guys doing? How's it going?
What's going on? Yeah, sure. Do you have any hot takes as far as Al Horford? We did have a conversation about this pre-show, and nobody wants to roster Al Horford, but the math works out. He's a fine play from a math perspective. But I mean, do you want to start there? Do you have any Al Horford takes? But by all means, take it.
I mean, we know how poor Brooklyn is defensively. It's basically their games are basically a race for 135 points. He's still pretty cheap. I mean, if he hits this 27-minute projection, I don't know, 30 DraftKings points. My problem is the ceiling's probably not super high. I mean, we saw him kind of have a ceiling game in his last one, and I think that's about if you get that type of performance out of him, that's as good as you can possibly hope for. So
I just pulled up the. I don't want to cut you off. I apologize, but I just pulled up the NBA defense versus archetype matchup tool here at RG. As far as if you're going to call Al Horford a versatile big, which I guess we'd call him a versatile big if you're going to give him a name, sure. It's the absolute best matchup in all of basketball against Brooklyn.
Thank you. So, I mean, what are we doing here? Well, SBK, I know you got to plug in and give us the projections rundown. I will say this. I am a lot more interested on FanDuel where he's 5,500. That's really where I'm going to be hammering the Horford shares. I like him at 5,900 on DK as well, but at 55 on FanDuel, I love it. All right, SBK, I'm out of your hair with my Al Horford takes, man.
We've smashed the over in the quota for seconds delegated to Al Horford, but it's a reasonable point for sure. What are we monitoring? What are we debating? What's kind of popping for you as far as minutes that are out there? Of course, you have Nance that's still questionable. OG and Obi still questionable. Embiid. Oh, OG's officially out. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, there it is. So I know my FanDuel lineup is going great.
I guess Powell all of a sudden gets a bump there, and his price has adjusted. But is there? We'll talk about that in a second when we get SBK out of here as far as any meat being left in that bone. But yeah, what are we projecting here? What do we have? What are the big debates today there, SBK?
So I can kind of tell you where we'll go with Toronto. It's kind of pretty straightforward when they're missing one of these kind of wing players. Norman Powell's going to start, probably going to play minutes in the mid-30s. I don't think it really impacts the other starters that much. Because I guess potentially Aaron Baines has been playing a little bit more than he has over the last couple of weeks. but it's going to be, heavy run for Lowry, VanVleet, Powell, and Siakam. So that's probably what we'll see with Toronto. If you're going to try to guess like which bench player is going to play like 20 minutes, good luck doing that. The backup Toronto bench is impossible to project. Outside of that, the biggest question marks are in that Minnesota-Philly game. We have Joel Embiid, who's still questionable, and then we have D'Angelo Russell, who's still questionable. Obviously, both of those are incredibly impactful on their teams. If Embiid sits, it'll obviously make Tobias Harris a far more exciting play, averaging 1.23 fantasy points per minute with Embiid off in about 170 minutes this year, 27% usage rate. Ben Simmons at 1.13. We'll have Dwight Howard back in our lives again. So Shake Milton, another potential play. So the Philly side is interesting. Minnesota really can't defend with or without Russell. And so I think it's a fine matchup for the Philly side, assuming that, really regardless if Embiid plays, he should absolutely dominate. I would really 100%. Like him as a tournament target. But yeah, the Sixers side, if he sits, will be quite a few guys in great spots.
I don't want to keep it too long, and this might be a kind of off the reservation question, but he is 3K on DK. Hassan Whiteside, he can play 0 minutes, but he can play like 20 minutes. And we know he's a really strong fantasy point minute player, not a good actual real life basketball player. We don't care about that. Just get some run. What do you think of White? How playable is he at 3K on DK, if at all?
I don't think he's playable at all. Like in games that Raton Holmes is in foul trouble, I believe he played 33 minutes in the last one, and I think he had 5 fouls. When he hasn't been in foul trouble over the last couple of weeks, he's been playing minutes in like the mid-30s to high 30s. Mm-hmm. So, you need so much to go right. I feel like if you roster, you probably need Holmes to get in very early foul trouble or get hurt or something. Otherwise, I don't see how that works out.
Yeah, I guess we're not probably not that desperate either. As far as the mid tier is pretty strong on DK. It's just if you're trying to get some studs in, I'm just sort of thinking a way to save some salary. Anything else we're monitoring that we get that's worth touching on before we let you go and get back to tweaking the the information that comes in?
Not really. I think you had touched on Larry Nance. I think we didn't really get anything on Lonzo Ball yet, outside of the fact that he won't have a minutes limit if he plays.
Which is a weird thing to say if you don't know who's going to play, but yeah. Yeah,
seriously. Those kind of quotes always kind of make me think they're more likely to play. So the other thing is just kind of watching Washington, seeing what they do with, they have Mo Wagner, Davis Bertans, Rui back. So kind of seeing what that looks like. But, there's no reason tonight to roster. If you're looking at the Washington side, no reason to look anywhere but Beal and Westbrook.
Yeah, that's actually Westbrook. We saw Wall got a jump minutes last night out of nowhere. It was kind of unexpected. He was on his minutes limit. Do we think? Is there any reason to think Westbrook can all of a sudden play 33 minutes tonight?
I wouldn't be surprised at all if that were the case. I think I predicted him at 32. Yeah, that's where he is right now. So I wouldn't be surprised at the least bit if he played 35 minutes or something like that. He had been held under 30 those first couple games back, but he's had a little bit of a time to recoup now. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing normal minutes tonight by any means.
All right. Well, let's get you out of here. Appreciate your time. Of course, you guys can get all this information on Lineup HQ. If you guys are premium members, we dropped the link before. We'll drop the link again as far as getting $10 off the first month if you watch us basketball, or you can get all the sports with the exception of NASCAR. Chief. All right. How do we adjust as far as the information coming in? So, okay, talk about, is there still meat in the bone there for Toronto as far as the asking price of Norman Powell now with 6.2K on FanDuel? I believe his DK price is fully adjusted. Well, mostly adjusted as well to the new situation with OG being out once again. Yeah, he's 6.2 on DK. What are we doing as far as Powell and the rest of Toronto? And yeah, like Lowry hasn't been great. The team hasn't been great. Siakam hasn't been great. But this is a scenario where you think if they're going well, they're going to play around 35 minutes in a phenomenal matchup against Sacramento, and they're kind of priced down.
Right, and let's talk about this because, first of all, neither team is playing great. Neither team's playing good defense. How do I know this? Toronto is 7-10, 7-11. They're not at they're not in the top echelon in the Eastern Conference currently. They haven't been playing great. I like both sides of this game. And while in our heads we're saying, we need to be playing Toronto guys, we probably need to be playing Sacramento guys as well. Toronto hasn't shown us that they're going to play great defense yet. So, but obviously, those guys probably have the prices where they should be. Lowry at 7,100, I think that's too cheap for this particular spot, right? You've got Powell at 62. I don't hate it, right? I don't hate it. I think he's one of those guys you play. He's going to be a tournament play tonight because I don't see people gravitating towards Norman Powell at that price, right? I just don't see that. Then you're looking at Siakam at 7,300. I think that's too cheap for this spot. Siakam could put up 50 in this particular matchup in a game where, both teams could score 120 or more. So, I like the game. Chris Boucher at 61. Maybe if he gets 28 minutes in this spot, he could put up 40. So I like the game environment overall. I think if you're playing pieces from this game, you're hoping that you catch the upside from these guys, and that's basically what I would be doing. And then on the Toronto side, I said I like them. I don't feel like I have to play Fox, but I'm telling you right now, Halliburton is way too cheap for this spot at 4,800.
Yeah,
way too cheap at 4,800. This would be my pivot off of Joe Ingles right now. Joe Ingles is going to be pushing probably 30% on this slate. Halliburton, I'm not looking at the ownership. It's probably got to be around 5 at most. I could be wrong. Not looking at it. But Halliburton at 4,800 is the perfect pivot. And I'm not saying we have to pivot, but you know how I kind of think about these things. Okay, we're going to pile on Joe Ingles, and rightfully so. Like, he's averaging a pretty good fantasy point per minute projection for the minutes he's going to play. But Halliburton's going to play close to 30 minutes in this squad as well at 4,800, and he's got equal upside. So I really like him. He's my favorite Sacramento King on both sides. Both sides. He's 5,400 on FanDuel. That's still a fantastic price for him. Keep in mind, I wouldn't play him over Clarkson and the Harden combo. That's not something I would do. But on DK, I'd be more than willing to plug him in to a shooting guard spot.
Yeah, the tricky thing with Sacramento is like trying to predict who's going to close there, and it's to be determined. It's like almost like it's based on game flow and who's doing well. And Fox is going to close, and Barnes is going to close, and Holmes is going to close almost definitely. And then two of Hield, Bagley, and Halliburton based upon how the game is going. So it's hard to sort of peg minutes because we've seen Hield not close before. We've seen Halliburton close over Bagley for a good bit. And, if you fall on the right side of that, for sure, Halliburton can be a really, really strong play. And I'm pulling up our ownership stuff, and our ownership actually is respecting Halliburton. Let's see what we have here. It's not that much of a difference, surprisingly. We have Ingles at 23%, projected for 29-ish points, and then Halliburton at 26 and change at 18%. Like, both are playable too. Like, you're playing both.
I got
obviously.
that wrong for sure. I assumed he was going to be a lot lower owned. I think I was probably valuing the Ingles play a little bit too much, but you may need both of them on this slate if you want to play some of these other guys. So, hey, that's why the ownership guys are back there, and I'm just the pretty face in front of the camera.
You're the Hornets guy. Tell me, do I go back? I didn't play him last game. I besmirched him, but now they raised him up, and now I want to play him. Cody Zeller at 4K on DK. I don't like him as much on FanDuel. You can only roster one center, and there's a bigger opportunity cost from my perspective, and also the cap is a little bit looser. But on DK, Cody Zeller at 4K. Thoughts?
4K, if he's going to get 30 minutes, he's in play, period. He's averaging over a fantasy point per minute this season. And if he gets 30 minutes, that's over 30 fantasy points. Look, I try to keep it simple, and that's the way I kind of run my projections. I think we've got, Rudy projected a little bit low. Like, Rudy should be projected around 50 fantasy points per night. That's Gobert, by the way. But that's just me doing my math at 1.46 and 35 minutes. You know the drill. But yeah, I like Zeller. I'm going to stay in that game. I think Gordon Hayward at 7K. This is the cheapest he's probably been all season. I think you guys are going to see a theme. You notice I haven't really mentioned any really expensive players. I'm kind of in the mid-range with some value. I think that's the way to go in this slate, to be honest with you. I talked about, this is a guy I mentioned on the morning grind, and I'm not saying, you have to play him, but LaMelo Ball's price has finally come back down. It's because the minutes are all over the place. We don't know what's going to happen, but I'm saying for a guy that's got 40-point upside in tournaments, like, this is the time to take a shot. You know what? If he gets 30 minutes, if he happens to get 30, if Rozier ends up in foul trouble or Graham, any of these wings end up in foul trouble, he's going to get an extra 3 or 4 minutes, which could catapult him into, a GPP winning lineup. So on FanDuel, where he's 5,500, man, that's getting real close. The problem is you got Garland at 52, I know, and his minutes are a lot more stable. But I'm just saying, in terms of a pure upside play. LaMelo Ball is your upside play from the Hornets. Obviously, he's not in the same stratosphere as Gordon Hayward in terms of minutes because we know Hayward is going to play his 36 to 38 minutes for sure.
Yeah, it's not a star scrub slate for me just yet because the mid tier is really strong, or the mid to upper
really
tier, however you want to say it, and the scrubs are bad. The stars are good, like the studs are great, but I don't know how I can get them. Yeah, of course Giannis is great. Of course Jokic is great. Sabonis is great, and I might end up with one of them. Harden, fabulous play, but to make it work, especially on DK, at what cost? And then we haven't talked about Murray. Like Murray on DK specifically is what, 6'1"?
That's what I'm telling you, Dean. Is my favorite play on DK still at 6,100. DeJounte Murray and well, now that we're there, Dean, we might as well just cover the Spurs because we're already there now.
Okay.
The Spurs are underpriced. The whole team. All of them. Murray 61. I think DeRozan's around 68, 69. Keldon Johnson's probably priced appropriately. I think he's 56 or 50 something. Then you've got Aldridge at, I don't know, in the mid 5Ks. Aldridge probably is priced appropriately because I don't know what's going on with that. Sometimes he plays 28 minutes. Sometimes he plays 32 minutes. Sometimes he plays 20 minutes. I have no clue what's going on with that type of rotation in terms of his minutes. But my point is, he's still fairly cheap for the upside he can provide you in the right environment. But I'm definitely playing two Spurs. I'm definitely playing Murray. I'm definitely playing DeRozan. And then on FanDuel, DeRozan 77. I still like it, but I don't think you need to play him. But Keldon Johnson is valuable, and so is Aldridge on FanDuel. Keldon's 56. LaMarcus is 57. I think they're a lot more valuable on that site, whereas Murray and DeRozan are a lot more valuable on DK.
I pulled up our consensus value rankings here on DK specifically, just looking at point guard and just talk about the opportunity cost. Kyrie Irving at 8.7 seems too cheap with the absence of Durant. Harden, too cheap at 10.3. You can play him at shooting guard. If you're playing Harden tonight, play him at shooting guard on DK. Conley is a nice price at 6K. Murray, 6'1", the aforementioned. Clarkson at 6'4". It seems a little pricey for a guy coming off the bench, but that's still perfectly fine. Lowry, I know he hasn't been like spectacular this year.
Yeah.
Price is down and the matchup is positive. I'm definitely interested. SGA, we didn't talk about yet. Perfectly fine.
Oh, I love SGA tonight. It's just tough to play him.
Simmons is 7-7 versus Minnesota. Like, I don't think I played Simmons all season, maybe once or twice at the beginning. He just hasn't been that great. And we have looked at the on-off stuff, and for whatever reason, he's been poor. Like, he's taken a slight hit. Maybe it's a sample or whatever when Embiid's off the court, but like, he's just apprehensive. He's not shooting so much this year.
Well, let's pause there too, Dean, because I know we're taking a lot of pauses, but as you can see, I'm not really looking at the screen. I've done a lot of deep dives today on these situations because I knew it was a 10-game slate. I didn't want to have to be clicking around while we were on the show. But Philly's in the same spot, right? If Embiid sits, Simmons at 77 all of a sudden becomes a fantastic investment. Tobias Harris at 6,800, fantastic. Then guess what? I talked about this yesterday. You're going to get some Shake Milton at about 4,900. Like, it puts these guys squarely in play. And then you've got Dwight Howard at 4,200. I mean, so these variables, obviously we need that so we can kind of adjust lineups accordingly. But I'm just putting it out there, like, you may want to take some of those bills. And even if Embiid plays, I still like Ben Simmons at 7,700. The price is fantastic for a guy that can get you a triple-double. And it'll be a cheap triple-double. It'll probably be 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, but he can get there. And I mean, I think the price on him is very low for the output he can give him.
If Embiid plays, how fast does Naz Reid get his first 2 fouls?
I'm going to go within one foul within 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then perhaps he says, all right, I'm going to try to not foul. He goes another 2 minutes, maybe 7 minutes in at the most. He's probably out of there.
Yeah, and the chat's asking about, now Devin's compiling these questions too, and I'm just going to pull us one. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, Devin's going to join the show in just a minute or so. Tell us what site you're on and tell us if it's for tournament or for cash. But if Embiid does sit, they're asking about Bradley and, Howard. A lot of people were on Howard last time. I was on Howard, and he was just atrocious. He wasn't good, and he was so bad he didn't even start the second half. They started Bradley, the castaway there from Utah. Howard is 4.8K. That's on FanDuel. What is his DK price? I think
he's 4.2 on DK.
Oh, you got to. I mean, like, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, now Dean, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
We're rushing to play Howard at 4,200. But we're questioning playing Cody Zeller at 4K, who we know is starting for sure. this is what I'm saying. People, like, you have to get away from the group thing, right? When you're playing tournaments. And look, I don't play Aaron Gordon. I know this. I talk about it all the time, but he's a very volatile player, and I feel like he's overpriced most of the time. So I'll give you Aaron Gordon as a guy I'm really biased about, and I just X him out of my pool. But other than Aaron Gordon, right? Think about it, people. Cody Zeller's 4K. You don't have a whole lot of value on this slate. He's 4K, and he's going to play, I'm going to say 25 minutes, and he averages over a fantasy point per minute. Cody Zeller's a good play. Get the throw up out of your mouth. I know, but you have to get away from that. The price is fine. If he was 5K, we'd be having a different discussion. He's 4K, and you need some value, and I think he's good value on this slate. But we'd be rushing to play Dwight Howard with Embiid out at 4,200, which makes no sense.
I'd also want to see Howard starting. Like, it's possible, non-zero chance that if Embiid's out, Bradley does start, and he might have earned that start. Who knows? We'll see. Going to bring Devin out in 1 second, but I just want to get this one more question out there for you because it's the biggest total on the slate. It's high and it's tight. Atlanta's a 4-point favorite in a 234.5 total game. We haven't talked about anybody in Atlanta. Like, for sure, against Washington, Trae Young could put 40 actual real-life points in the bucket. And the Washington side, Beal's been completely insane. He's probably still in that chair, just passed out. I assume he's in the game tonight. I don't know. Man, he's working so hard out there with some terrible players. So this is kind of speaks to like, oh my God, big total. You got to play these guys. But yeah, price matters and body parts matter. And Washington's getting back Hachimura. They're getting back Bertans. They're getting back Wagner. So I would assume the usage is going to go down to some degree for Beal. Now his assist rate might go up, but what if Westbrook all of a sudden plays, 33 minutes or so? Then Beal's going to take even a bigger hit because Westbrook is going to take more some of that usage. Just your general thoughts on this Atlanta-Washington game, which, in theory, you're supposed to gravitate to this, and there's some good stuff for sure, but I'm not playing any of the guys that are coming back. I think Beal's interesting, Westbrook for sure, but I don't think I'm prioritizing anything in this game. Is that a mistake?
I think because of the salary distribution and the way the slate is shaking out, I don't think it's a mistake. I mean, I think if we had to choose between Westbrook and Kyrie right now, I will say this. If we heard that Westbrook was off a minutes restriction and he's going to get 35 minutes at 9K, I'd be more than willing to fade. Well, I don't want to say fade Kyrie because Kyrie's points per minutes right now, they're off the chart. But I would be more than willing to fade Harden and take Westbrook at 9K in my other guard spot and do something a little bit different. I don't think you need Bradley Beal on this slate, right? I don't think that. But I do think Westbrook has immense value at 9K if he's going to get normal minutes, which is around 35 to 38 minutes. On the other side of that game, I do still like these Atlanta pieces. Like, I like Clint Capella at 8,900. I like it. Don't look now, but Trae Young has been, just putting up fantasy points left and right. Don't look now because he started out the season and he was doing terribly. But let's just go back maybe the past 6 or 7 games. The 56.25, 51.25, 56, 66, 55, 50. Those are the last 6 or 7 games. He's 9,100. Trae Young is squarely in play on this slate in this matchup. I think it's fantastic. The question is, can you get him in? With all the other guys that you want to play, which is why you're going to need some Dwight Howard. You're going to need some Cody Zeller. You're going to need some Ingles. You're going to need some Halliburton. Heck, you might need to be plugging in Hassan Whiteside at 3K and hoping for 18 minutes. But it's something to monitor. If he starts getting 18 to 20 minutes, he's going to start putting up close to 30 fantasy points in some of these spots. At any rate, I love the Hawks, Trae Young. I love Capella. And I really like Westbrook if we know about the minutes.
I don't follow directions well. I did look. You said don't look, but I looked. And Trae Young, last game, 56 fantasy points, 51, 56, 66, 55, 50. All of those justify a 9K DK asking price. And, how about the matchup? Washington, right? Washington plays at the fastest pace in all of basketball. And from a defensive efficiency perspective, they are the second worst. They're just right. There's only one team worse than them, the Sacramento Kings. I really think we're supposed to play some Trae Young. I just in tournaments. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get there in cash just because of salary restrictions, but yeah.
Well, let me say this, Dean. I think if we did not get this Brooklyn news, Trae Young was the play, right? If we didn't have the Brooklyn news, we wouldn't have been on Kyrie at 8,700. but it's just the scenario and the situation. I ran the numbers for Kyrie. Kyrie's in my projections, I've got Kyrie projected for around 60 fantasy points tonight. I think he's going to play around 37, 38 minutes. He's averaging, well over a fantasy point per minute. I think he's around 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. It's somewhere in the stratosphere. Matter of fact, it might be 1.7 on DK or 1.75. It's something astronomical.
I got bad news. I don't mean to interrupt you. I got bad news. Well, Devin, we're really getting into his time. He's very upset.
Oh, Devin,
he pricked his hair like 5 minutes ago. He's good to go. Devin, feel free to jump in whenever you'd like. Even worse. Maybe Devin might think that
Sans Norman Powell.
Norman Powell is now downgraded to questionable.
Stanley Johnson!
Oh no, the Steamer.
The Stanimal.
The Stan. Who calls him the Stanimal?
Listen,
Dan Tuttle does.
He's trying to make
Will, your camera's freaking out on us, Will.
Oh, I got a little bit too excited. Can you guys still hear me?
We can still hear you, yes.
Oh man, I'm sorry guys. I don't know what happened there.
It's all good. We'll bring up Lineup HQ page and take some questions while you figure it out.
Gee, sorry about that, gents.
I got so excited about the Stanimal.
I've never been so excited about anything in my life, and it's definitely not been Stanley Johnson. So yeah, Devin, you're going to be asking some questions. I'll handle the cash stuff. Chief will handle the tournament stuff. Fire away. We're already behind time. I don't know if we're in lightning round just yet, but maybe we are. You tell me.
I'd say we're not yet. We still got some time. Dean, while I'm asking you this one, turn your camera off and on.
Really?
Let's start with K-Mac. FanDuel tournament. So this one's for Chief. Maladon or Milton?
Milton. I'm not playing Maladon. Forget it.
All right. Next one comes from Philip. DK Cash. Trae Young or Kyrie?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're supposed to play Kyrie, and especially if you can use some of that $400. But Trae Young is a fabulous tournament play, and maybe from a raw points perspective, he's probably projected a tick higher just because of the matchup and the usage and all that. But I think it's Kyrie. That's in my brain, but now I'm thinking maybe it's not if I have $400. But they're both really good.
Gotta love that second guessing.
Yeah, well, look, you know what you know, and you got to concede, but you don't necessarily know something, and I'm not certain now.
DK Tournament, John Nesbitt would like to know, is Wes Iwundu a good pick?
No,
Wes Iwundu. I have not considered.
I feel like I might have been able to answer that one, but
DK Tournaments, Dean. DK Tournaments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on, Dean.
I'll stay in my lane. I apologize.
Rob asks, FanDuel Cash, listen up, Dean. Fox, SGA, and Siakam, or Kyrie, Harden, and Bojan? I am not in love with Bojan and his usage as a follow-up.
Yeah, but you're getting the two huge pieces on Brooklyn. I think it's the third one. But what was the first part? It was Fox, Siakam?
SGA, and Siakam.
Ooh, I like all those. But I think it's slightly B, but it's close.
It's close. All right, don't forget to smash that like button if we get your question in. Legit asks, DK, we're going to call this one tournament. Guard or forward, 5K or lower, not named Ingles or Halliburton?
5K or lower, forward, not named Ingles or Halliburton. Jeez. There are going to be some weird options here. I don't see any reason why you would get away from any of those options. I mean, I guess if you were, it maybe be Anthony Edwards or Jeremy Lamb, but I don't think either one of those are better. I think you need to stick with those guys.
I just want to jump in and say Naz Reid, who I thought he legitimately broke his wrist. I was watching the game the other night, and he did come back. He's now he's questionable with the wrist. Yep. So it would not surprise if he didn't play. He did come back, but he looked like he was in a lot of pain. So there you go. And also, he doesn't want to play against Embiid, does he? I wouldn't think so.
I'm going to squeeze my own question here. I was looking at the optimal on DK earlier. Utah players were in a lot, but no Dallas players. Would you guys consider any players on the run back for tournaments?
Luka. That's
just Luka, not Porzingis.
Luka's not a good math play, but he's for sure fine. Sure. If you're trying to be
Porzingis on FanDuel at 7,500.
Right. I like it.
7,500 on FanDuel Porzingis.
All right, Ryan wants to know, if Embiid sits, do we look at Bradley?
If he starts, otherwise I don't think I can't do it.
All right, DK Tourneys for Atch. You're gonna say that's their name? Is TLC an option?
No.
Well, let's talk about that just for a second. That's something I wanted to touch on, and I think we're projecting him, and this is for DK specifically, right?
Yeah.
I think we're projecting him for 18 fantasy points, and he's still minimum. And of course, 18 is not ideal, but we're guessing 25 minutes, 18 fantasy points, and he's 3K. And if he gets you everything else you want, again, this is the Hassan Whiteside thing, not sexy at all. The floor is really, really low. And we're not sure. Is it going to? People might be thinking, what about Bruce Brown? Like it's terrible. The guys that Joe Harris maybe on FanDuel you can play, but the DK price is just not acceptable. But yeah, do you have any interest in either of those guys, Chief? There's still minimum guys on Brooklyn, DK
Nope.
specific. Okay, just a no.
Nope.
All right. Got the resounding no's. Adam wants to know, can you play 3 Jazz tonight? Ingles, Gobert, and Conley for the late night hammer.
Tournament
on DK.
That was no site specific. So we'll say
We'll
say
you
it's
can definitely play.
tournaments.
I like them on both sides. I don't think Clarkson is as valuable on DK, but I think on DK I would X out Clarkson and play Conley and Gobert. I would definitely be playing Gobert on DK. On FanDuel, I think Clarkson is the most valuable piece.
And those rotations are tight on Utah, so and Favors being out will be a nice little bonus.
Got some Clarkson moments on Top Shot for pretty cheap.
Oh,
Not to drink.
I got a pack to open. I got a pack today.
Not to bring the whole show off the rails, but Joe wants to know, out of these 4, pick 2 for their centers on DK. We'll call that tournament. Embiid, Jokic, Zeller, and Gobert.
Pick 2?
Yes.
Oh, Zeller and Gobert. Easy.
All right. We already got some TLC talk in there, so that's Steve's question. Let's talk about Horford. Matthew wants to know, you liked him a good bit, right, Will? FanDuel tournaments?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. Donnie wants to know on DK, do you like a Trey, Beal, Tobias pivot off of Kyrie, Harden, Hayward in tournaments?
No.
No?
You don't have to pivot off all 3. Like it's okay to go away from chalky stuff, but we should mention, not to step on your turf here, Devin, but I wanted to ask Chief about his boy Hayward. 7K on DK is really appealing. Hornets, yeah, I like that price, right? It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's simple. 7K. He's too cheap. Didn't have any peripherals. Only scored 16 real points. A guy that's going to probably average about 24, 25 real points a game this season is going to typically have peripherals. 7K. You play him and you live with the result.
All right, JWC, DK single entry tournament. I have a build that I love with no player over 7,500. What do you think?
On DK?
On DK. Anchored with DeRozan and DeJounte Murray.
The only guy I'm going to have on DK over that is Kyrie. That's it. Nobody else is going to be over 7,500.
I love it for a 10-game slate we're on, right? Still. Tori asks, DK tournament, is Sabonis or Hayward?
What is that?
That's the question. Is Sabonis or Hayward? So we'll pick one.
Hayward?
How about that? We're gonna take some creative liberties on that language.
Hayward.
Hayward.
We'll roll with that.
It's like match game all of a sudden.
Yeah, right. Telephone through YouTube chat.
Cue that the baseline. Go ahead.
Jack wants to know, DK tournament, Gary Harris or Barton?
Neither.
I will say Barton is at an egregious. Yes, I know MPJ's been into his minutes and he has been spectacular, but he has the ability to shoot 20 real life points to the bucket. And he's down to 4-3, I think, on DK. I don't love it, but I think that there is some upside in that price.
All right, Kelly would like to know, Kyrie Simmons or Harden Murray?
Which Murray? I'm assuming DeJounte.
I'm going to assume DeJounte.
Let's go with that one.
All right, and I think we have caught up. Kyrie over Harden for Josh?
Oh, buddy, D'Angelo Russell's playing. This gets me real excited. Real excited.
You can play D'Angelo Russell.
It's got nothing to do with D'Angelo Russell, Dean. See, you got to see what's going on in the tournament mind here. It's got nothing to do with Russell. It's got everything to do with if Embiid sits, this game should be a lot more competitive.
Come on, Dean. Try to catch up.
I'm over here playing checkers. He's playing chess.
Come on. Keep up, Dean.
So if he's in, that makes me a lot more intrigued in Simmons, Harris, Shake Milton. Like I'm a lot more intrigued in the Philly side. Guess what, people? Minnesota's not playing great defense either.
Oh,
so you let the chips fall where they may. I know we're running out of time. Devin,
we are up at the door. So let's end with a couple more. Drummond smashing against New York again for FanDuel.
I can't play Drummond. The minutes he's capped at 26, 28 minutes. The one game he wets the bed, you're going to be kicking yourself at an 8K player that you know is not getting 35 minutes.
We also need Dance out, I think. And even then, I'm still not excited.
Coming up to the end, so we'll end with this one. Porzingis or Colin, FanDuel tournament.
Porzingis.
All right,
Porzingis.
Dean, take us home.
7,500.
I'll just say I see a question in chat. Is LaMelo Ball a lock tonight because of his under? No, he's not a lock, but he's interesting for tournaments because the minutes, for whatever reason, have been pushed down. I don't really know why. They don't want to develop them. Devin, we got to go because you have to produce a show for premium members. Andy Means, Kevin Roth, and a surprise guest that I'm not aware of. Somebody else that's super savvy. There you go, Mr. Tuttle. We'll talk about the Stanley Steamer, or as he likes to call him, Stan-a-mole. There you go. Maybe he'll talk about him. Who knows? That was Chief. That was Devin. Hit the like button. Do subscribe. We do appreciate all that. Play the $3 tournament tonight in FanDuel. That is the best $3 value and all of FanDuel. Single entry series for Rotogrinders. That was basketball. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your basketball. We're out of here. Oh!